Part 26. The Strongest Assassin in the Server. Author, B.A. Wang-Shi-San. Chapter 251. Ye Chen has accumulated 150,000 fire energy now, and his sin value is only more than 1,800. If he really wants to go out, he can just brush the hell slime for another 2 hours. But before going out, he still wants to explore hell and try to understand the veins of hell. On this basis, he also wants to find some Lord monsters to kill. After all, the Lord has a chance to explode the sin suit. This proves that Ye Chen can also steal it from them. I hope readers will remember our domain name Taiwan Novel Network rightward arrow. Even if it is a type that cannot be used, it doesn't matter. If you take it and decompose it, it will produce 100 hell blood. With a large amount of hell blood, he can make the hell suit sooner or later. Ye Chen rushed forward and soon left the slime area and plunged into a dark cloud. System, you found the nightmare swamp. Recognition add 10 points. Ang. A majestic roar sounded in the mist. Ye Chen looked in the direction of the sound and could vaguely see a huge figure. It turned out to be a giant elephant. It was more than 5 yards long and about 3 yards tall. Its gray skin was similar to the color of the surrounding mist. If it was not moving, Ye Chen would have difficulty finding it. Ghost Demon Elephant, Lord. Level 38. HP, / Skills. Lord. Ye Chen raised his eyebrows and sneaked up. When he hit it with a club, the dagger actually penetrated its body and missed miss. Ghost Demon Elephant, is it immune to physical attacks? Ye Chen was stunned and immediately summoned Xiao Hong. With a loud phoenix cry, Xiao Hong appeared and sprayed a flame to hit the Ghost Demon Elephant, forming a high-temperature sea of fire around it. Minus 3,809. Minus 986. After being hurt, the Ghost Demon Elephant screamed, and with a flick of its trunk, it actually produced a strong wind that blew away the surrounding clouds and mist. Then, the trunk whipped Xiao Hong with a powerful force. Xiao Hong was whipped away with a miserable cry, and finally fell to the ground, minus 5,200. Xiao Hong is a Golden Lord, and both defenses are very high, but relatively speaking, its magic defense is still a little higher. At this moment, the pure physical damage from the Lord also deducted a lot of blood. After the attack, the Ghost Demon Elephant still did not get rid of hatred, and rushed towards Xiao Hong again with a huge pressure. Xiao Hong was also frustrated. It was obviously a flying type, but its wings had not yet fully evolved and could not completely fly, so it could only take a detour to avoid the attack of the Ghost Demon Elephant. At this time, Ye Chen suddenly found that the figure of the Ghost Demon Elephant was much more real, and it had an indescribable three-dimensional sense than before. On top of this, the surface of its huge body was covered with a layer of golden and red light. Before it was physical immunity, now it is hegemony. This boss is really difficult to deal with. Ye Chen sighed, threw a golden dart to test the water, and found that it only dealt a small amount of damage, which proved that the hegemony of the Ghost Demon Elephant is also very powerful. For any combat online game, the strongest state is obviously the invincible state. But the invincible state is almost impossible to appear in the early stage of the game. Even in the later stage, some top quality equipment or special skills come with 1 or 2 seconds of invincibility, which is also awesome. Below invincibility, it is hegemony. Compared with invincibility, hegemony is obviously much more common, but there is no doubt that hegemony is also a very powerful state. There are also great limitations. For example, the hegemony of the Berserker, once the rage decreases, the hegemony is cancelled. This is still good. Some high-end players keep full rage for a long time, that is a long-term hegemony. Generally, it is like Ye Chen Po Wuju, CD hegemony. This Ghost Demon's hegemony is mostly CD hegemony, and the duration cannot be too long. As expected, Ye Chen was not wrong. He and Xiaohei used stun darts to stun the ghost elephant for 1 second at the same time. Then the ghost elephant chased for a few seconds, and the dominance state disappeared. But Ye Chen was shocked to find that after the ghost elephant withdrew from the dominance, it became a ghost again, physical immunity. Damn, it's either dominance or physical immunity, this has nothing to do with me, just rely on Xiao Hong. Ye Chen sighed, roared, and gave Xiao Hong a war cry, and then watched the show, and could only watch the show. But when watching the show, he would use the thief. Xiaohei would also use the thief, stealing fragments one by one and dropping them on the ground. After 10 minutes, Ye Chen had stolen almost everything, 2 sets of suits, 10 hell bloods, and 76 fragments. If he continued to steal, it would take a long time to steal them out, and it would not be of much value. At this time, Xiao Hong died once, and only knocked off less than 1/3 of the ghost elephant's blood. Ye Chen was too lazy to fight anymore, so he sneaked back to call Xiao Hong, shook off the ghost demon elephant, and continued to explore forward, but was finally blocked in front of a majestic gate. System, you need to kill the ghost demon elephant and obtain its essence and blood to open the door. Forget it, if you want to kill the ghost demon elephant now, Xiao Hong will have to die at least 4 times. I give up. Ye Chen sighed, returned the same way, came to Nahi Bridge again, and ran towards the evil ghost. The evil ghost is just a leader, neither up nor down, and it is meaningless to fight. Ye Chen sneaked through and came to the next monster area. When he came to the next monster area, his eyes widened, because there were golden treasure chests everywhere. What can be opened from the treasure chest in hell? Sued. Blood of hell. Ye Chen rubbed his hands, walked to the nearest golden treasure chest with a smile, and just as he was about to unlock it, the treasure chest popped open automatically. The first thing Ye Chen saw was the scarlet tongue in the treasure chest. Oh my god. Completely unprepared, Ye Chen stepped back in fear and fell to the ground. At this time, he saw clearly what kind of monster this so-called treasure chest was. There were 2 rows of sharp golden teeth between the openings of the treasure chest, and the sound of metal collisions was heard when it opened and closed. Occasionally, the scarlet tongue would stick out, and disgusting saliva would splash down. The treasure chest monster jumped and pounced fiercely towards Ye Chen. The other treasure chests were also startled by the sound and all turned into hideous treasure chest monsters and pounced. Hell treasure chest, boss. Level 38. HP, / Skills. You scared me. Ye Chen cursed, activated his overlord, and rushed forward with Xiao Hong. When he attacked, the treasure chest monster would sometimes close up, and he chopped on the hard shell of the treasure chest, which reduced the damage a lot. So, he specifically attacked some treasure chest monsters that had just opened their mouths, pierced their tongues with a dagger, and each time was a critical hit, killing them quite easily. And after the treasure chest monster died, there was a chance that a complete hell blood would explode. Could the leader also explode the hell blood, or is only this treasure chest monster eligible? The strongest assassin in the server. Author, B.A. Wang Shi-san. Chapter 252. Ye Chen killed some treasure chest monsters, which was considered to be a relief, and then he stood up. But he looked at the square and found that most of the treasure chests showed their hideous appearance, but there were still 3 treasure chests that were motionless. They are pretending to be real. Ye Chen looked at the 3 treasure chests, laughed and cursed, but still couldn't help running over. What if it is a real treasure chest? Moreover, even if it is a treasure chest monster, it is not a threat to him. Thinking of this, Ye Chen ran over, reached out and touched the treasure chest, and saw that there was no reaction, so he used the unlocking function. System, you opened the gold treasure chest, proficiency add 900. Oh my god, it's really a treasure chest. Ye Chen was stunned, and a smile appeared on his face for the first time in a long time, and then he cleaned the things in the treasure chest. A leather armor set. 3 hell bloods, a token. Seeing the leather armor set, Ye Chen was delighted, which was equivalent to saving 500 hell bloods. Then he looked at the token intently again. Hell Messenger token, gold quality / consumable, summon any monster in hell, Gold Lord and below, including Gold Lord, to help, duration, half an hour. Note, one-time item. This token also has a monster selection function. Ye Chen opened the list and found that all the monsters he had seen appeared on it: Wild Ghost, Vengeful Ghost, Hellhound, Hell Three-Headed Dog, Hell Slime, Ghost Elephant, Evil Ghost, Hell Treasure Chest. But apart from these, there are no other monsters on the list. This does not mean that there are only these monsters in hell. In fact, there are far more. Maybe, only the monsters I have seen will appear on this list. Ye Chen pondered, and I can only summon the monsters on this list through this token. After pondering, Ye Chen smiled, put the token away, and walked towards the second treasure chest. However, this treasure chest is 3 times bigger than an ordinary treasure chest. Damn, this is too fake, it can't be a real treasure chest. Ye Chen complained, and didn't dare to open it himself. After all, this huge treasure chest might be the Lord boss. You know, the Lord in hell is much stronger than the Lord in the wild. Compared with the three-headed dog of hell, the attack power is off the charts. For example, the Ghost Golem, physical immunity and hegemony cycle. Then this huge treasure chest might also be a very powerful monster. These treasure chest monsters are disguised as treasure chests. Before revealing their hideous faces, Ye Chen uses recognition to see through them, showing that they are all gold treasure chests. It is precisely because of this that Ye Chen was fooled before, but this time, this huge treasure chest is obviously a lie. Swish. Ye Chen threw 2 golden darts at a distance of about 10 yards, and the treasure chest did not move at all. Xiao He rushed over and used the unlocking technique. The treasure chest was opened, revealing a huge and scarlet tongue. It was probably stunned because it didn't know who opened it. But when it saw Ye Chen, it immediately let out a roar similar to that of a wild beast, jumped quickly, and rushed over. King of Hell treasure chest, Lord. Level 38. HP, / Skills. Finally revealed his true face. Ye Chen sneered. As long as he was not physically immune, he could kill him. Broken martial art. Blood blade. War cry. Ye Chen turned on the buff and strode forward. The sharp dagger kept stabbing on its disgusting tongue. Hit hard for 5 seconds and then retreat, stealing while throwing darts. 1 minute later, the broken martial art cooldown was over, and then continued to fight. This cycle was repeated 5 times, and the treasure chest lord fell to the ground and died, with only 2 fragments falling out. After all the good things had been stolen by Ye Chen. After dealing with the treasure chest lord, Ye Chen ran to the third treasure chest again, which was the normal size of a gold treasure chest. Even if it was a monster, it was just an ordinary treasure chest monster, so Ye Chen was not afraid and rushed over to unlock it. After opening the treasure chest, Ye Chen did not see the scarlet tongue at first glance, but there was no prompt to open the gold treasure chest. Immediately, a black shadow rushed out and burst into a rampant and sharp laughter. Abyss Demon, Golden Lord. Level 40. HP, / Skills. Note, the demon sealed by the Hell treasure chest. After seeing the basic information of the Black Shadow, Ye Chen was shocked. The other party turned out to be a level 40 Gold Lord. You know, this level 40 is an extraordinary number. Because Hell is divided into areas according to levels. If Ye Chen came to Hell at level 40, this Abyss Demon must be a level 50 Gold Lord. It represents the monster at the top of the food chain among the monsters in Hell. And this guy's name is also very special, Abyss Demon. Isn't this my title? Ye Chen thought in a daze. Ahahaha, I'm finally out. Amidst the wild laughter, the black shadow rushed out, carrying a black aura, directly piercing through Ye Chen's body, and then rushed back in the opposite direction, -8,200. -8,395. In 1 second, 2 bright red damage appeared, and Ye Chen fell to the ground and died. In fact, Ye Chen had already died when he received the first 8,200 damage, but the black shadow was too fast, and the second move was to whip the corpse. Such a terrifying monster, in hell, it is really hard to imagine who can kill it. After all, hell is different from the wild. In the wild, you can form a team, and even the most powerful boss can be killed by the human wave tactics. However, in hell, it is not that you cannot form a team, but there are too few players here, and most of them are hostile players. After meeting, they will just cut each other. Who will form a team? Resurrection. While thinking, Ye Chen's passive was triggered and he stood up again, but he chose to sneak at the first time. There is no way, facing this abyss demon, he can't fight it now. In the black shadow, Ye Chen ran away, and he couldn't help but look back until he was about to leave the treasure chest area. He found that countless treasure chest monsters pounced on the abyss demon, but they couldn't deal any damage, they were physically immune again. But even if they couldn't deal any damage, the treasure chest monsters still rushed forward one after another, and the abyss demon seemed to be very afraid of the treasure chest monsters. Get out of here. I just got out and don't want to be locked up again, the abyss demon roared, and the black figure rushed like lightning, causing countless -5,000 damage wherever it passed. That's right, it can't kill the treasure chest monster in seconds. And the treasure chest monsters gathered more and more, and finally piled up a small hill. After half a minute, the treasure chest monsters dispersed. A golden treasure chest was left behind. There is no doubt that it was this treasure chest monster that sealed the abyss demon again. Tisk tisk, it's so awesome. Ye Chen sighed, took out the token again, and found that the 4 words abyss demon appeared on its selected list. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The strongest assassin in the server. Author, Ba Wangshi-san. Chapter 253. In other words, if he uses the token, he can also summon the abyss demon to help. As the Golden Lord in Hell, it has a HP of 650,000. It is also physically immune and has a very special attack method. It rushes like lightning and causes damage wherever it passes. That kind of damage, compared to the players, almost all of them are instant kills. Use the token to summon it to help, and it will take a total of 30 minutes, which is enough to cause serious damage to the myth. Ye Chen gathered his mood and continued to explore, and found a candle ghost dressed in white in the next monster area. These candle ghosts hold candles that seem to never burn out. Their bodies are transparent, so you don't need to look at them. They are also physically immune. Ye Chen sneaks through them and goes straight through them. Soon, he was blocked by a black river. According to the system prompts, this is the river Styx. But no matter what kind of river it is, Ye Chen has not learned the swimming skill yet. If he goes into the water, he will definitely drown. However, he still has snake wings. With a chi sound, Ye Chen opened the snake wings, jumped up, and flew towards the other side of the Styx river. This Styx leads to God knows where. Its length is incalculable, but its width is limited. Ye Chen flew for less than 3 minutes and successfully reached the other side. On the opposite side is another door, the Hall of Yama. On both sides in front of the gate, there is a bull-headed monster and a horse-faced monster. They should be the legendary bull-headed and horse-faced monsters. Adventurer, King Yama has been waiting for you for a long time, Naoto said and opened the door for Yuchen. King Yama is waiting for me. Yuchen was stunned for a moment, and then he heard the message written by King Yama on the title Demon of the Abyss. The NPCs in hell should all be neutral. Otherwise, if King Yama wants to kill me, why bother to do it himself? A bull-headed horse-faced person can kill me. Yuchen muttered to himself. He had seen through the bull's head and horse's face, but everything was still full of question marks. Not long after, Yuchen stepped into the Yama Hall, where there were screams of all kinds of lonely ghosts. Yuchen raised his eyes and saw a majestic black-faced man sitting on a high seat in front of him. Although he was just sitting, Yuchen's visual inspection revealed that he was at least over 2 yards tall and wearing a black dragon robe. He was the king of hell. Adventurer, as you are the first person to meet me in the world, I will give you a gift. The king of hell looked at Yuchen and smiled. I have 3 treasures here, you can choose one. As he finished speaking, a list of options appeared in front of Yuchen's eyes. 1. Hands of Hell. 2. Hell Suit, any type, any part. 3. Token of the Hellbringer. Tisk tisk. Yuchen looked at the 3 things on the list and couldn't help but click his tongue. There was no doubt that he wanted all 3 of these things, but he couldn't be greedy. In the end, he gave up the Hell Suit and token. After all, there was only one suit. He could make it slowly in the future. As for the token, although it is powerful, he already has one. So he chose Hell's Hand, which is a skill. Hand of Hell, special skill instantly cast, forcibly moves any movable target within the visual range CD, 1 minute. At first glance, the Hand of Hell seems useless, but in fact it has some effect. During the chase, catch the escaping enemy in an instant. While on the run, forcefully throw away the pursuing enemies. After acquiring the skill, Yuchen was in a good mood, but he still couldn't help but ask the King of Hell, King of Hell, what are the requirements to become the messenger of hell? That token was the token of the Hell Messenger. Yuchen suspected that if he had the title of Hell Messenger, he could summon monsters in hell to help even if he didn't need a token. Haha, let's wait until you have the strength to compete with Black and White. The King of Hell laughed wantonly and waved his hand, and Yuchen felt an irresistible strong wind coming. The next moment, Yuchen was pushed out of the Yama Palace, and the door was closed tightly with the bull's head and horse's face at the same time. Okay, the King of Hell has also met. It's almost time for me to find a way to leave hell. Yuchen smiled, and before the flight had cooled down, he flew across the canal, and then rushed to the slime area. Yuchen tried to use the Hand of Hell, only to see a black hole appear out of thin air in the space behind it, and then a big black and ferocious hand poked out of it. He instantly grabbed the slime and threw it away. This was shaken off, and after a minute, the hands of hell cooled down again. Yuchen tried to use the Hand of Hell on the slime 100 yards away. The next moment, a black hole appeared in the space behind the slime, and then the Hand of Hell stretched out and grabbed it. Almost instantly, the Hand of Hell grabbed it. Teleporting with the slime, he came to Yuchen. No matter whether it was thrown away or caught back, the Hands of Hell did no harm, but Yuchen was still very satisfied. After getting familiar with the new skills, Yuchen started to spawn monsters like crazy. Less than an hour later, a system prompt came to my ears. System, your sin value drops to 0. Please hurry up and exit hell, otherwise you will be forced to log off in 1 minute. After hearing the prompt, Yuchen also exited hell very wisely. The next moment, he returned to the previous jungle area. After contacting Tank and others, he found that they were playing Earth Dragon Palace. Yuchen decisively returned to the city and went straight to the basement of the palace. He found that many former members of the God Slayer were sitting on the ground. After seeing him, they also called him president or boss very respectfully. Yuchen smiled bitterly, sat down on the spot, and said, I am not your boss now, right? Why are you all staying here? These people are obviously peripheral members. In fact, except for the 500 elites who signed formal contracts, all the others are peripheral members. It's just that these people have joined the guild before. These people can't actually beat the Earth Dragon Palace. That's why Yechen asked this question. Boss, are you unwilling to create a guild again? As long as you are willing to create it again, you are still our boss, the former leader of the peripheral group said excitedly. Then, someone else said, in the wild, Shenhua is still destroying our remaining gang. We stay here, on the one hand, to wait for you, and on the other hand, we feel safer. Brothers, you have been wronged. As long as you think I am still qualified to be your president, stay. Sooner or later, I will fight back, Yechen said seriously. About 10 minutes later, Huowu, Tank and others finished a game and left the dungeon. At this time, the black tortoise shield in Tank's hand was gone, and now he was just wearing an ordinary purple shield. Brother, I'm sorry, I didn't keep it, Tank smiled awkwardly. That far-fetched smile, coupled with his red eyes, made Yechen feel sour in his heart. Well, I already know, I should apologize. The strongest assassin in the server. Author, B.A. Wangshi-san. Chapter 254. The guild was disbanded, and Yechen felt that he had to bear the main responsibility. Because if he goes on the field to fight, the ending may be different. Patting Tank's shoulder, Yechen turned around and glanced around, apologized to Huowu and others and explained the reason. The Xinhui came prepared. He even broke our dense fog formation. Besides, you are trapped in a special map and cannot come out, so there is no need to blame yourself. Huowu glanced at Yechen and said, but on this basis, we are all wrong. We defeated the Hall of Fame and entered the Giant Guild, but we did not have the awareness to be a Giant Guild. Right now, Xinhui has more than 15 bases, and they are still expanding. Before our guild was disbanded, we only had 2. There is no reason why we lost. Huowu's words made everyone nod secretly. Taiwan Novel Network Rightward Arrow. At this stage, low-level guild bases are becoming increasingly fragile. As long as 1,000 enemy troops successfully break through, the base can be destroyed within 1 minute. But there is no doubt that when a battle between guilds begins, both sides will inevitably consume money. It is just a matter of how much. On this basis, the more bases a guild has, the more it can drag down the enemy to consume. At that time, if the God Killer had more than 10 bases, Xinhui might not dare to invade. Because in a real fight, the myth may not be able to kill the God Killer in the end after many times of consumption. The result would be that both sides would suffer, and in the end it would be the Dark Camp who would gain the advantage. In fact, this is a drawback left behind by the guild's rapid development. The total number of peripheral members exceeds 30,000, and the guild level is only LV5, which is enough to explain the problem. Huowu looked at the crowd and continued, in the limited time, we only focused on recruiting people and were entangled in all kinds of trivial matters, but neglected the construction of the base. In addition, we really rely too much on the thick fog formation. Hearing this, everyone looked at Huowu blankly, feeling that she was speaking from the bottom of their hearts. But if they were asked to speak, they would not be able to speak out. Huowu can say that in addition to her own management experience, she is deeply involved in it and is the most caring about the guild. Compared to Huowu, Yechen is just a hands-off shopkeeper. At that time, Yechen and Huowu had different styles. No matter how low-key Yechen was, he was still passionate and public at heart. He could lead people to conquer the world. At this point, Fire Dance is far inferior, but the Tank is very similar. On the other hand, Yechen and Tank couldn't compare to her in terms of the development and construction of the guild. That's why we need to cooperate and share the pressure. Yuchen and Huowu are both very happy because the other person is the person they are looking for. After cooperation, in this game field where there are many strong players, they will be qualified to compete in the world. Guild President, and everyone, we should all recognize ourselves. Only in this way can our next guild survive, Huowu said with a moving face, and for a moment the mountains roared and the tsunami roared. Yechen smiled, waved his hand and said, "Okay, that's it for today. Let's disperse. The God Killer is gone, and you are free." After hearing this, many members of the outer group stood up, said goodbye and left. From now on, the bond between them and the God Killer, Yechen, and others will be severed. They are free, safe, and will no longer be targeted by myths, but the emotions in their hearts are complicated and sad. They know why Yechen said this. This is the last protection before the next guild. Huowu and the others stared at Yechen blankly, and Yechen silently looked at the lonely figures until the last person left. After the members of the outer group dispersed, only the main members such as Yechen, Huowu, and Tank remained in the basement, and of course hundreds of elite members. As for the remaining 400 elites, they are still in the Earth Dragon Palace copy. Yechen smiled and sent an invitation to Huowu as a believer. Huowu was stunned for a second before accepting. System, player Mai Shiranui accepted your invitation and became a follower of Fire God Ounce. Your fire power is add 3 and fire resistance is add 10. System, please issue daily tasks to the player Mai Shiranui. As the second system prompt sounded, a fiery red, drop-shaped earring appeared out of thin air in Yechen's hand. This was obviously a fire energy absorber. Yechen handed the earrings to Huowu and announced the daily tasks at the same time. Of course he won't be as cheating as the fire dragon, and what he released is only the minimum, 100 points of fire energy. And even if he fails to complete it, there will be no punishment. After all, he is one of his own, so there is no point in punishing him. Sister Huowu, if you accumulate 1 million fire energy, you can also become a preacher, Yechen said with a smile. 1 million fire energy, how did you do it? Huowu asked in shock. Fire elites of the same level have 15 points of fire energy, and fire lords of the same level have 500 points of elites, Yechen said with a smile. The special maps I went to before were all enhanced version of fire elite monsters, each with 30 points of fire energy. I spent a whole day brushing it. The so-called special map is obviously hell. Huowu and other members of the main group knew this, but the peripheral groups and even the elite group did not know this. After all, even among the elite group, there may be spies. Hearing this, Huowu was stunned and stunned. In response to this, Yechen smiled helplessly, turned to look at the others, and said, 10 points of fire power, 30 points of fire resistance. If you also want it, you can tell me, fire magic will be given priority. You know, low-level preachers have a limit on the number of believers they can recruit, and they only have 100 quotas. But this is enough. If Yechen recruits all 100 quotas, he will have 300 points of fire strength and 1000 points of fire resistance. With 300 points of fire strength, Yechen's damage will be tripled. With 1000 points of fire resistance, the fire damage Yechen receives will be reduced by 10 times. Half an hour later, Yechen recruited all the believers. It was already 9 o'clock in the evening, and Yechen had not eaten for a day except for breakfast. Everyone was almost the same. Okay, let's take a rest today, log off and relax, and continue tomorrow, Yechen said, and then went offline. In the villa, everyone seemed to be hungry and collapsed on the sofa without moving. Seeing that they had not eaten dinner, the chef and the servants did not dare to leave work on their own. At this time, seeing them coming out of their rooms, they immediately heated up the food in a hurry. Uncle Lei, Aunt Wang, please heat up some more. My stomach is about to collapse. Shen Kaijin raised her head and shouted to the kitchen. Oh my lady, if you are too hungry, Mr. Shen will scold us. Don't be so willful again, Aunt Wang said. Although she was just a servant, she almost watched Shen Kaijin grow up, and was half a nanny. In addition, Shen Kaijin usually respected her, so she would occasionally say a few words. The strongest assassin in the server. Author, B.A. Wang Shi-san. Chapter 255. Not long after, fragrant dishes were served one after another. It heated up quickly. Seeing that they were hungry, the chef, Uncle Lei, made a few more dishes. Writing this, I hope readers will remember our domain name Taiwan Novel Network Rightward Arrow. He started to cook on one side, and wolfed down on the other. The girls who were usually very reserved also started eating with ease. Girls are all like this, and the way Yechen and others eat is even more terrifying. That beast Tank actually started grabbing it with his hands. Tank. Have you washed your hands? Oh no, even if you wash your hands, you can't do this, the girls complained. It's washed, don't worry. Tank stuffed the vegetables into his mouth and said to the chef, Uncle Lei, you should get more hand vegetables, pig's trotters, sheep's trotters, etc., exciting. Okay, if you like it, I'll buy it and make it tomorrow. Uncle Lei is also a good-tempered person. When he heard the demand, he immediately nodded in agreement. After more than 10 minutes, everyone was half full and the pace slowed down. After Uncle Lei served the last few dishes, tidied up briefly, he went back. Aunt Wang, you and Uncle Lei go back together. We may not know until what time we will be busy, and we will also clean up tomorrow, Shen Kimian said to Aunt Wang. That's fine. How can we leave today's work until tomorrow? Aunt Wang said rigidly. It's okay. It's all over now. If it drags on any longer, I'm afraid it won't be safe for you to go back. Now that Uncle Lei is with you, I can rest assured. Shen Kimian smiled nonchalantly and pointed at the door. Hurry up, Uncle Lei is still waiting for you at the door. Hearing this, Aunt Wang turned her head and looked at the door, her face turning red inexplicably. Well, then I'll go back first. You can rest after eating and let me clean up tomorrow, Aunt Wang said one last time, then ran back to change clothes. She came out 3 minutes later and smiled at everyone again and nodded. And walked towards Uncle Lei at the door. After reuniting, the two smiled at each other and left side by side. Looking at the ambiguous backs of the two people, everyone started to gossip and asked Shen Kaijin, is there something going on with them? Hey hey. Shen Kaijin smiled evilly, as if he had remembered something, and the smile on his face slowed down and said, actually, Aunt Wang is a hard-working woman. During her most beautiful years, she was recruited by my father to take care of my daily life for 18 years. Until so far, she is not married. Why? Everyone asked in surprise. Judging from Aunt Wang's age, she is almost 40 years old. She is not married yet at this age? Because my father doesn't allow her to get married. He said it would distract her and she wouldn't be able to take care of me. Shen Kaijin said awkwardly. Yechen just took a sip of red wine, spit it out, burped with difficulty, wiped his mouth and exclaimed, wow, your dad is so bad, feudalism, you are not allowed to hire servants. Marry someone. While Yechen was speaking, everyone except Shen Kaijin was staring at him fiercely, and Tank was the worst among them because Yechen sprayed red wine on the table. It's your grandfather's. If you are dissatisfied with me grabbing it with my hands, just say so. Is this necessary? Tank stared at Yechen and said depressedly. He looked at the food on the table that was stained by Yechen's saliva, and then at the handful of peanuts he had grabbed before. Finally, he raised his head and put the peanuts into his mouth, and sat down on the chair without saying a word. Yechen looked at Tank with an embarrassed look, then looked at the others, only to find that everyone was just as unwelcome to him as Tank. Yechen sweated a little, spread his hands and said, okay, I was wrong. To show my apology, I will personally cook for you later. Don't worry, My family used to open a restaurant, and our craftsmanship no worse than Uncle Lei. Ye Chen's words are true. His mother also opened a restaurant for a period of time before opening a breakfast shop. In the end, I was really too busy and didn't feel comfortable inviting outsiders, so I changed it to breakfast. During that period, Ye-chen went to the store to help out when he had some time, and he also honed his cooking skills. His skills are similar to those of a professional chef like Uncle Lei. This is definitely bragging, but it's not too far off. After hearing what Ye-chen said, everyone calmed down and turned their attention to Shen Kaijin, waiting for her next words. Well, I also think my dad is wrong. I was young and didn't understand at the time, but now I understand and I'm quite worried for Aunt Wang, Shen Kaijin said. Tank couldn't help it. He used his chopsticks to pick up the dishes on the edge of the table that were most likely not stained by Ye-chen's saliva. While eating, he said vaguely, I tell you, Aunt Wang has a problem too. Just one portion, how can I delay my lifelong event if I quit my job at worst? After Tank finished speaking, he smiled at everyone, but found that everyone was looking at him with contempt. This contempt has two meanings. First, this guy doesn't dislike Ye-chen's saliva. Secondly, this guy speaks without going through his brain. Idiot. If Aunt Wang can do it, how can she still work here? Ye-chen sneered. Either it is the restriction of Shen Kaijin's father, or it is because her family is in trouble and she still needs this high-paying job. No. Ye-chen's words, unlike those of Tank, were recognized by everyone. Shen Kaijin also nodded and said, well, I think it's both. Aunt Wang's family is really in trouble. When I was young, I lacked maternal love and didn't want her to leave, so I didn't help her. Huo Wu was sitting next to her. Hearing this, he lightly poked her forehead, and the latter sneered. It's okay, you can help her now, Tank said again. This time, his stupidity angered everyone. You are stupid, isn't there a way to have the best of both worlds now? Uncle Lei. Tank was stunned and laughed. Everyone asked about some details between Uncle Lei and Aunt Wang, fully satisfied their gossip hearts, and ended the topic. Huo Wu suddenly asked, by the way, Kikai, you said Aunt Wang has taken care of you since you were a child, but she is only 40 years old now, but I remember you mentioned that your parents are already over 50 this year, right? Do you have other brothers and sisters? Well, I have a brother who is 10 years older than me. Shen Kaijin smiled. By the way, he also plays Fantasy World, and he is very famous. I think his name is Shang Wang. I played this game at the time, just to find him to play together, and finally met you. Oh my god. Ye Chen's face was sluggish. He never thought that Shen Kaijin was actually Shang Wang's sister. Can this world dare to be smaller? At this moment, all kinds of information flashed through his mind. He even suspected that Shen Kaijin was a spy sent by the king of Shang, but he immediately dismissed this idea. If Shen Kaijin was a spy, his level was too poor and too unprofessional. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The strongest assassin in the server. Author, B.A. Wang Shi-san. Chapter 256. When he thought of this, Ye Chen suddenly showed a naughty smile, and accidentally glanced at Huo Wu, only to find that she also had the same smile. It turned out that Shen Kaijin was not a spy of the Shang King, so sending her over to explore the Shang King's background is also a good choice. But she may not be willing. One is a friend, and the other is a brother. And it can be seen that she seems to have a serious dependence on her brother. Even playing games is because of the Shang King. Just then, Huo Wu began to wink at Ye Chen. She pointed at Ye Chen with one hand and Shen Kimian with the other, and then bent her thumbs and touched each other. This is definitely not a formal sign language, but Ye Chen still understood it. Huowu is afraid that the world will not be in chaos, and wants Ye Chen to pick up Shen Kaijin. In this way, she may listen to Ye Chen's words and go to trick her brother. After Ye Chen understood, he was sweating profusely, shook his head vigorously, and pointed to his heart with his finger, implying that he already has a girlfriend. Who knew Huowu would look disdainful? She actually said, "If you mess around outside, your girlfriend doesn't know, it doesn't matter if you pick up a few more." Seeing this, Ye Chen simply ignored her. The topic had been diverted, and it was meaningless to continue. "Hey, didn't you say you were going to cook?" Tank complained, and Ye Chen got up and walked towards the kitchen. When he came to the kitchen, he found that there was not much food left, which showed that Uncle Lei was very responsible and bought fresh vegetables almost every day. So he killed a few tomatoes, cooked a big pot of noodles with eggs. Halfway through, Xiaoro came to help, and finally the two of them came out with noodles, and the fragrance was everywhere. I found that the others had moved the battlefield, the dining table was a mess, and they had moved to the sofa. There were 3 large sofas in the living room, one in the back, one on each side, and the front was facing the huge projection and sound. Tank, Monkey, and Fatty sat on the left. Huowu, Shen Kimian, and Kitty sat on the right. There was ready-made beer in the refrigerator in the living room. They drank beer while howling. When Ye Chen and Xiaoro came out with pots and bowls, they were immediately attracted by the fragrance, stopped the speakers, and began to distribute noodles. "There are only tomatoes and noodles." "I'm sorry for the hospitality." Ye Chen went back to take off his coat, and came back to sit on the sofa with Xiaoro in the back. Looking at the people eating like they were fighting for food, he couldn't help but smile. "It's okay. I'm used to eating Uncle Lei's dishes. Now eating your noodles is also a different taste." Shen Kaijin smiled. "By the way, Ye Chen, there were so many people in the game before, and some things were inconvenient to say. Now we are all on our own, how are you going to deal with the guild's affairs?" Huowu suddenly asked. Everyone was still happily eating noodles and drinking noodle soup before, but their eyes became cautious when they heard the words. "Yes, if we recreate a guild, it will only be LV1, accommodating 1,000 players, in this way, the myth will be accurate," Tank said depressedly. Everyone nodded in agreement. This was the first human word Tank said today. "Well, I've thought about it. It's impossible to create a new guild from scratch. It will definitely be targeted by the myth, so the only way is to annex a guild," Ye Chen said. Everyone asked in surprise, "Annex a guild?" "That's right, annex an existing guild. It doesn't matter if you pay me to buy it, as long as I become the president, it will be our new guild," Ye Chen laughed. In the past life, the president often played such a switch method. After all, guild wars, even faction wars, and national wars, are all based on guilds. In the later stage, when developing to the enemy camp or even abroad, bases are used for positioning. Bases have cross-border teleportation functions. Because of this, it is common for guilds to be forced to disband under the targeting of powerful forces. So, they thought of the method of switching. Of course, the objects of substitution for powerful guilds are generally their own branches. The God Slayer was destroyed just after it started, and there were no branches, so Ye Chen could only look for other existing guilds as the target of the substitution. "Wow, your trick is really powerful." Huowu was stuck for a moment, and she thought for a long time before she could spit out the word powerful. Now that she thinks about it, she really thinks it's incredible. Ye Chen was just a potential at the beginning, not even a top powerhouse, but now not only is his strength far superior to her, but he also beats her in all kinds of tactics. However, she didn't know that this switch was just an experience from the previous life. Except for Huowu, the others were also generous in praising Ye Chen, and they were not afraid that he would be proud, because this idea was really great. "Haha, so you don't have to worry about the new guild, because it's within easy reach. Yechen smiled, then his face darkened, and he said solemnly, but everyone knows that now the mythology is powerful and has many spies. Once the switch is successful, they will probably get the news first. Well, that's true. Buying a guild, including their land and base, will cost at least hundreds of thousands, right? This is pure expenditure. If we are defeated again, we will lose money. Not to mention, it will also be a big blow to our power, Huo Wu also said solemnly. However, Tank shouted, ah. Then when will we create a guild? Many brothers are still not satisfied with this. You can't get over it. Everyone laughed at Tank, but there was a certain sense of approval in their eyes. Tank's passion could drive them, but everyone couldn't get over it. When we have enough strength, we will switch to a new guild. At that time, we must have the strength to rival the myth. We can even destroy them in one fell swoop. Otherwise, we will only alert the enemy and fail. Yechen looked at Tank and smiled, but before that, I will vent your anger for you. Wait for tomorrow's news. Well, I'll wait for the news, Tank smiled. In this regard, he absolutely believed in Yechen's strength. Soon a pot of noodles was finished, and everyone started drinking and singing again. Empty bottles of wine rolled all over the carpet. It was not until 1:30 in the morning that everyone was exhausted and fell asleep directly on the sofa. I don't know how long it took, but Yechen opened his eyes. The lights in the living room were turned off, and the moonlight outside shone in. In the moonlight, Yechen found that he was covered with a blanket, and next to him, Xiaoro was also wrapped in a blanket and leaning against him. Yechen continued to look around, and the mess was gone. On the sofa on the right, the three women were close together, and on the sofa on the left, there was only the fat man. Looking down, Tank and Monkey were both sleeping on the ground. Yechen smiled slightly, thinking that they must have been kicked down by the fat man. Whether it was the three women or the fat man, or the two guys sleeping on the ground. Everyone was covered with a blanket. Yechen lowered his eyes and looked down. Xiaoro was lying on his chest. In the faint moonlight, he could see that pretty face, sleeping sweetly as if she had a dream. The strongest assassin in the server. Author, B.A. Wang Shi-san. Chapter 257. Love has the power to give warmth to others. Yechen is not a fool, he clearly felt the silent warmth transmitted by Xiaoro. Google searched Can. But that warmth was instantly wiped out by a deeper guilt. It is the most difficult to accept the favor of a beautiful woman. He stood up and supported Xiaoro, then put the pillow upright for her support. After doing all this, Yechen sighed secretly, and he would owe this woman his whole life. Going upstairs to his room, Yechen entered the game again. Coming out of the basement of the palace, Yechen found a disassembler NPC in the main city and disassembled several pieces of hell suits that could not be equipped. 5 pieces, but only 103 hell bloods were separated, plus the hell blood and fragments in his hand, a total of about 259. This shows that Yechen is still far away from a complete set of hell suits. In this case, he used forging skills to try to upgrade that piece of leather armor, but he could not forge it. It seems that there is no backdoor. If you want to upgrade the hell suit, you have to accumulate hell blood and upgrade it from the black and white impermanence. Yechen sighed secretly, and then his eyes condensed again. Now it's time to teach Myth a lesson. The guild has been destroyed. As the president, he must do something. And he doesn't have anything particularly important to do now. He can beat a wave of myths, accumulate sin points, and continue to go to hell to collect sin suits. Half an hour later, Yechen sneaked to the front of a myth base. There is not even a sentry in front of the gate of this base, and in fact, there is no need for a sentry, because the base has an alarm function. If attacked, the guild members can be prompted and teleported back to support. Yechen did not remove the invisibility, but summoned Xiao Hong. With a loud phoenix cry, Xiao Hong flashed in a pinch of fire, and then sprayed a thin and long tongue of fire with a thin beak, attacking the base, -6,800. The next moment, the alarm sounded, and a large group of people rushed out of the base with a majestic war cry. Who is so blind that he dares to come to our myth to cause trouble? The first to rush out was actually a group of cavalry. Their professions are not all knights. In fact, most of them are not knights. But even if they are not knights, players will open the riding function when they reach level 30. Non-school level officers cannot ride in the main city, but this is just a small town. I saw hundreds of players riding big red horses, rushing out in a mighty manner, with smoke and dust rolling behind them. So cool. This big red horse is the only mount sold in the NPC store, and the price is 8 gold coins. That is 800 RMB, which is so expensive that it makes people vomit blood. The special effect add 5% movement speed is actually not that good. But at this stage, there are very few people who can own high-level mounts in the wild, so the sales of big red horses are very impressive. There are countless local tyrants who will buy a big red horse to show their uniqueness. However, after they rushed out, they did not see any enemy figures, only Xiao Hong. Now this fire phoenix has already become a symbol, it represents Ye Chen. It's Ye Chen, he actually came here alone. Damn it, he dared to come here alone. Is he looking for death? Or is he looking for death? Archers, report the coordinates, kill him in one wave. 11 o'clock direction, 90% deviation. One wave. For a while, the cavalry roared continuously, and one of the archers used Eagle Eye to lock Ye Chen's coordinates. After reporting, various big moves fell like a storm. But at this time, Ye Chen magically teleported away and was replaced by Xiao He. Boom boom boom. Xiao He was smashed around and smoke and dust rose, but it was fine and rushed out again. Is he dead? Looking at the black fog in front of him, someone in the cavalry asked. Hearing this, a certain archer's eyes condensed, and he looked around and screamed, "No! At this time, Ye Chen took advantage of Xiao He's instant transfer and rushed a few steps, and he had already rushed in front of the archer. The red flame dagger stabbed forward directly. In stealth, use normal attack, the passive skill Shadow Thorn automatically activates, damage add 30%. -4002. Ye Chen is now nearly 400 points of fire strength. Normal attack, even without Xiao He's help, the damage is so explosive that it is desperate. The archer screamed, rolled off the warhorse, and fell to the ground and died. The terrified cry before death made everyone present feel inexplicably cold. But they looked in the direction of the sound, but did not find the figure of the criminal, because the effect of Shadow Thorn was activated using normal attack in stealth. If the target is killed, the attack judgment will be cancelled. What does it mean to cancel the attack judgment? In other words, although Ye Chen killed someone, he would not enter the attack state, and thus would not exit from the stealth. Ye Chen originally intended to use Shadow Thorn to kill minions, but since he increased his firepower by 300 points, his damage has gone off the charts. Single player damage is 4000. If he attacks at the same time as Xiao He, not to mention the squishy, even the Blood Bowl Shield Warrior will be killed in seconds. What is horror? This is horror. What is despair? This is despair. Ye Chen kills endlessly, bloody slaughter, and he doesn't even show his face. After Ye Chen killed one person, he drank a bottle of CD potion and moved around again, looking for the next yin person's target. The CD of Shadow Thorn is only 5 seconds, and if you drink a bottle of low-level mental stimulation elixir, it will be 3.5 seconds. In other words, he can kill someone every 3.5 seconds without anyone noticing. The one who was even more unaware was Xiao He. It rushed over and just slashed with its eyes closed. It dealt at least 3 to 4,000 points of damage with one knife, and every move was an instant kill. Occasionally using a skill can cause tens of thousands of damage, and the damage is completely overflowing. On the other side, Xiao Hong also took action at the same time, with fierce flames, tongues of fire, and possession of the god of fire. Under Ye Chen's instructions, he specifically went to find the enemy's archers. The enemy cavalry was beaten in a wave, and their number was reduced by 1/3 in an instant. They were so frightened that they almost collapsed to the ground. The regiment leader roared, "Where's the fire spell? Are you doing it for a living? The battle has been going on for more than 5 seconds now, why haven't I seen the sea of fire yet?" As the leader of the regiment, he is neither an archer nor a fire magician. The battle had been going on for a few seconds now, and he didn't even see the face of the enemy. He was feeling quite painful from the beating. The roar fell, and immediately the fire spell began to chant. On the other side, Yuchen's eyes narrowed. Kick. In the shadow, Yuchen stepped on his feet, and the snake wings on his back propped up, causing him to fly into the air. The next moment, there was a chi sound, and a sea of fire filled 100 yards radius, but it could not burn him. The strongest assassin in the server. Author, B.A. Wang Shi-san. Chapter 258. Huh? Where is Yeshenren? The leader yelled in confusion. Yuchen was killing people wantonly and still didn't show up, which already made him very confused. But now that the sea of fire is burning, and the area covered is 100 yards in radius, Yagami can be said to be inevitable. Why does he still not show up? Wow! It's in heaven! Suddenly, an archer pointed at the sky and shouted in panic. Dream World has just opened its server less than 3 months ago, and he can't believe that Yuchen already has the ability to fly. The eagle's eyes are extraordinary. Almost nothing can escape the eagle's eyes. At this moment, the archer saw that in the sky, Yuchen stood leisurely with a cold face, and there was actually a pair of black behind him, vaguely covered with snake scales. Huge wings. Snake wings. At this time, Yuchen glanced at him, and the archer was so frightened that he almost collapsed from his horse. Fortunately, he had a strong psychological quality. Although he was trembling with fear, he loudly reported the coordinates of Ye Chen. The cavalry looked at each other in shock. The archer actually reported the coordinates of the sky. This is not too high-end. So, although they couldn't see anyone, they still focused their fire and attacked them. However, while Yuchen is flying, her movement speed increases by 30%. Just a slight dodge was enough to avoid all the attacks. After Yuchen avoided the attack, he rushed down and rushed towards the archer with a violent force. However, Xiao He struck first and rushed over quickly, easily taking away the archer's life. Then the killing continued, hacking at random with a dagger, one at a time. Xiao He is the most unscrupulous. It even activates the bloody blade on its own, roars in battle, and slashes and kills wildly. The killing rhythm is unimaginably fast. On the other hand, although Xiahong's rhythm is not as good as it is better in terms of range. Any skill can kill nearly 10 people in an instant. Compared with them, Ye Chen was just a bastard. He didn't need to fight at all, and the enemy army collapsed on its own, but there were more people rushing out of the base to join the battle. But still, more and more people will die. As time goes by, Yuchen's sin level skyrockets. You know, although Xiao He is his shadow, he is an individual existence that is transcended from him in the game. Its murder had nothing to do with Ye Chen. Otherwise, Ye Chen's current crime value would probably have doubled. It's so evil. Suddenly, the voice of an archer attracted everyone's attention. Under my eagle eyes, the night god did not attack at all. But our army, in addition to the fire phoenixes that continue to burn people to death, there will be one more group of people died inexplicably. It's really evil. Our Shinue has fought against the night god many times, and this kind of situation happens almost every time. To be honest, I even think he is cheating. What the hell? This is a holographic smart online game, and hacker programs can't hack into it, okay. Well, cheating is impossible. We can think that he has a special skill. And through that skill, he can summon an invisible and invincible summon that is similar to a shadow. Invisible, invincible, well, using shadow to describe it is very vivid. Damn, with such awesome skills, why don't I? Also, I don't know if you have noticed it. If it is really a shadow, there should be some kind of restriction. Distance restriction. Well, when you say that, I understand. I can guarantee that this distance, that is to say, the distance between Yeshen and the shadow, is no more than 30 yards. Shinue is indeed a giant guild, filled with talented people. After summarizing many battles, they actually guessed Xiao Hei's attributes very well. Yechen was not very surprised by this. After so many battles, it was normal for Xiao Hei to be discovered to some extent. But Yechen is not worried at all. Xiao Hei is an independent individual, and it is even beyond the game system. Even the system cannot determine its existence, and it is even more impossible for outsiders. Yechen only feels ridiculous when it is misunderstood as his own skill. Damn, think about that shadow skill. It's really scary. But brothers, don't make any mistakes. Skills are skills. We just need to kill Night God. Suddenly, a group leader yelled. Immediately afterwards, the fire method burned the sea of fire again. 10 minutes have passed, and Yechen is no longer in flying state. He was burned by the sea of fire and immediately appeared. Damage pops up from the top of the head, -4, -4, -4. Should I wipe it? My sea of fire can only burn him with 4 points of damage. When the fire magician saw the burns on Yechen's head, his face turned red with embarrassment. Don't be discouraged. Yagamai's fire power is ridiculously high, and his corresponding fire resistance is also quite high. It's normal for you to deal such damage. Everyone around him smiled bitterly to comfort him. Now that he has appeared, let's all come together and kill him. The captains roared on their war horses, led their armies, and charged towards Yechen. At this time, Yechen raised his eyes and looked at the thousands of people in front of him, with a cautious look in his eyes. If there were only a few hundred people, with his dominating body and the dual blood-sucking effects of the Abyss Demon and Bloodlight Blade, he would definitely dare to have anal sex. But if there were thousands of enemy troops, then the enemy might take him away in one wave, so he didn't dare to fight. And if there are thousands of people, then there is no need to think about it and they retreat decisively. For a moment, Yechen ran forward. After the distance between him and Xiao Hei exceeded 20 yards, he pulled Xiao Hei and ran. Behind the scenes, Shinue and everyone were chasing madly. Hey, looks like it's about time. Yechen raised his eyes and glanced at the dark army behind him, laughed sinisterly, took out a handful of tokens out of thin air, and crushed them directly. The next moment, a black shadow full of evil aura emerged from the broken token, and then formed a human shape. But the body is still as dark as a shadow, obviously not so real. This is obviously a characteristic of physical immunity. Ahahaha, I finally came out again. The Abyss Demon laughed wildly, that damn treasure box dared to swallow Grandpa. After the Abyss Demon smiled for 2 seconds, he saw Yechen and his smile dropped. Hey, why are you here? I thought it was summoned by those two losers Black and White Vuchang. Because I summoned you. Stop talking nonsense and kill them. Yechen raised his eyes and snorted coldly. Hey, you dare to order me? Are you kidding me? The Abyss Demon sneered, and sat down on the ground under Yechen's shocked gaze. I am an Abyss Demon, and my body is already covered in blood, but I kill whenever I want, and I will not listen to others' orders. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The strongest assassin in the server. Author, B.A. Wang Shi-san. Chapter 259. Yuchen was dumbfounded. In hell, regardless of NPCs, in terms of monsters alone, the Abyss Demon is definitely one of the best. Taiwan Novel Network Rightward Arrow. Yuchen thought he was awesome and admired his fighting prowess, so he summoned him without much thought. Who knew that the other party would be disobedient? Hands of Hell. Yuchen was so angry that he directly used the Hand of Hell. The next moment, the space behind him turned into a black hole, and a ferocious demon arm popped out like lightning, catching the Abyss Demon almost instantly. Amidst the latter's violent struggle and curses, Yuchen sneered and controlled Hell. With his hand, he threw it fiercely into the pursuers from behind. Damn, what is this black monster? Everyone yelled in panic and took action almost reflexively, throwing away all kinds of skills. Of course, there were also magic attacks, which made the Abyss Demon howl. Of course, with his strong HP of 650,000, there is no danger at all in a short period of time. Looking for death. I won't provoke you, so it's better for you to look for death yourself, the Abyss Demon roared angrily and scurried back and forth like lightning. At that speed, under the cyclic movement, after images were actually produced, with a wanton move, more than 10 people were pierced through the body and died, and there were dense amounts of damage, almost all of which were above 8,000. After going back and forth like this, in just a few seconds, hundreds of people died, screaming in agony. You know, the Abyss Demon is now Yuchen's summon, and all the people he kills will be recorded on Yuchen's head. For a time, Yuchen's guilt value increased rapidly like a motor and could not stop at all. Ahahaha. The Abyss Demon is indeed a demon in nature. He becomes more and more aggressive as he kills more and more. He rushes around and kills crazily among the ocean-like enemy groups. Among the mythical group, even the shield warriors cannot withstand any attack from the Abyss Demon. Only the Berserker's physical dominance can be used, but the Berserker's pure physical attack cannot hit him at all, and it is even less possible to accumulate anger. So there is no hegemony at all. Everyone must die. During this period, Xinyue also used control skills to control the Abyss Demon, but it was of no use at all. Immune to physical attacks, they simply don't have the ability to destroy 650,000 HP in a short period of time with magic attacks alone. Holy shit! What's going on? Is this black monster the pet of Ye-God? Pets are impossible. Normal professions can only summon one pet at the same time. The Fire Phoenix is still there, so this black monster cannot be Ye-God's pet. If it's not a pet, then it's a summoned object. This discussion is nonsense, run away. You won't survive any later. In just 2 or 3 minutes, the number of Xinyue's people was reduced by more than half, and the remaining people reacted and hurriedly fled. The Abyss Demons chased 2 more waves before stopping. At this time, Yuchen's sin value had exceeded 7,000 points. Boy, how dare you take advantage of me, the Abyss Demon finally realized and rushed over like lightning to question Yuchen. If he hadn't been Yuchen's summon now, he might have killed Yuchen. Excuse me, if I hadn't summoned you, you would still be trapped in the treasure chest. Yuchen sneered and said, I advise you to be honest and obedient. In this case, I will consider calling you next time. If not, I'm sorry, but you can just stay in the treasure box and think about your mistakes. Humph, stop fooling me. Since you summoned me, there must be something you need my help with. The Abyss Demon sneered, looking like he didn't buy Yuchen's account at all, and said, in this case, you promise to help me complete a task, and I promise to help you with all my strength. That's nonsense. I don't care whether you want to help or not. Ye Chen turned around and left. He had already decided that if he had another token in the future, he would never summon this disobedient Diomao again. Hey, little brother, don't be like this. As long as you are willing to help me complete a task, I am willing to be loyal to you. Seeing Ye Chen's determined look, the Abyss Demon panicked and hurriedly added weight. Hearing this, Ye Chen raised his eyes, and then he became interested and said, "What mission? Also, even if I help you complete the mission, you are still in hell, so how can you be loyal to me?" "Because my mission is to hope that you can help me get out of hell," the Abyss Demon said excitedly. "Haha, I see, how can I help you? Don't tell me that you want to kill the King of Hell," Ye Chen said with a smile. "Well, this is indeed a method." The Abyss Demon was stunned for a second, and then smiled, "But kill the King of Hell, let alone you, even I don't have this ability. In fact, it is very simple, you just need to find a way to become the messenger of Hell, and then you can ask the King of Hell for a monster as a helper. When you choose me, I will naturally become your servant." Hearing this, Ye Chen raised his sword eyebrows. From the words of the Abyss Demon, he detected a hint of hidden information. As the messenger of Hell, it is conceivable that more than one player can serve as it. You know, all countries in Dream World can lead to Hell. In the world, there must be a competition among the strong. In the future, the top leaders in each country may become the messengers of Hell. At the same time, everyone can also choose a monster helper, because the choice cannot be repeated, so who to choose becomes the top priority. Anyone who has strength is willing to recruit the most powerful monsters as helpers, which will become an irreversible advantage. According to what you said, if you are really strong, someone will choose you sooner or later. Ye Chen smiled obscurely, "But you don't seem so confident now. If I am not mistaken, there should be monsters in hell that are stronger than you, and there are definitely more than one or two." "Haha, it seems that you are just a burden. Why should I choose you?" Ye Chen sneered. "Bullshit. I stand at the top of the food chain among the monsters in hell. How could I be a burden?" the Abyss Demon said excitedly. But as expected by Ye Chen, there was some suppressed panic in his words. "Since you are at the top, why are you in such a hurry? Even if I don't choose you, I believe someone will still choose you. Where is your confidence as a king?" Ye Chen sneered continuously, and the Abyss Demon finally couldn't hold it anymore, and smiled bitterly. "Okay, I admit that my attack method is very simple, and it is limited to dark attribute attacks." Hearing this, Ye Chen nodded. Yan Wang once said that if you want to become a messenger of Hell, you must first meet the strength that can match the black and white impermanence. This is definitely a matter of the later stage, and in the later stage, the players will become stronger and stronger. The Abyss Demon has such a single attack attribute that it can hardly deal any damage when targeted by others. The strongest assassin in the server. Author, B.A. Wang Shi-san. Chapter 260. To put it this way, you are still very average. Give up, I won't choose you, Ye Chen said flatly. Just kidding, Ye Chen is definitely not the kind of person who selflessly helps others at the expense of his own interests. If there is, it can only be your relatives and friends. He, the Abyss Demon, is nothing. If Ye Chen becomes the messenger of Hell one day, he will definitely choose the strongest monster in Hell as his helper. As I write this, I hope readers will remember our domain name Taiwan Novel Network Rightward Arrow. After all, if he doesn't choose the strongest one, someone else will definitely choose the strongest one to deal with him. In each stage, there should be a trump card or ultimate move for a certain stage. Although both Xiaohong and Blood Tree can continue to evolve, they will also be powerful aids in the later stages. But for things like trump cards, of course, the more, the better. You know, Ye Chen's current goal is to become the strongest in the server. Ahead was a mountain of swords and a sea of fire. Every step he took felt like he was playing chess. Some small mistakes can be tolerated. After all, the road to becoming a strong person cannot be achieved overnight, and kings also grow up through bumps and bumps. But the key steps, such as the advantages of each stage, must be grasped. The road to becoming a strong man is far more cruel than most people imagine. You can either swallow your ambitions and play the game at your leisure, and no one will hold it against you. However, once your strength or influence reaches a certain level, you cannot stay out of it. If you don't pull others down, others will step on you to get the upper hand. It's as simple and crude as that. The world is an unprecedentedly large area, and strong people are succeeding one after another. It all depends on who can fight their way to the top of the pyramid in the end. Yuchen's decisive attitude made the Abyss Demon inexplicably angry. He felt that his strength had been completely underestimated. There are thousands of monsters in hell, but I am definitely at the top of the food chain. The title of Abyss Demon that you mortals have received was customized based on me. The Abyss Demon roared, and I have truly emerged from hell. I am completely intact, and my whole body is covered in a top-notch hell suit. Oh! Yuchen was slightly stunned. Although he doesn't know what level the top hell suit is, there is no doubt that it is much more powerful than the level 10 suit. It is inevitable for the Abyss Demon to recover blood from killing people, and as he kills too many people, his attack power will increase infinitely. This is a bit scary. Even if players have the hell suit, they are still afraid of going to jail if they fail, so they will go to hell to cleanse their sins. But the Abyss Demon seems to have no scruples. He is just a monster and has no concept of going to jail. This is quite powerful. Even though the Abyss Demon's attack methods and attack attributes are very single, with the terrifying basic bonus, the damage will inevitably explode. To be honest, Yuchen is a little excited now. Humph, we are both at the top of the hell food chain. Although I can't do anything about those big guys, they can't do anything to me, the Abyss Demon said proudly. After all, my ability to restore health after killing people is not just for show. Big guys. Who are they? Yuchen asked curiously. I'll tell you. There is also the Ghost Elephant Lord in Hell who is named after me. This guy is also physically immune and can dominate the body. He has high both attack and defense. He is an all-rounder. The Abyss Demon talked eloquently. There is also the Hydra. This guy has the most outstanding attack power and attack methods. There are too many, but the most powerful one is the Bone Dragon. Bone Dragon? Yuchen was startled. He doesn't know much about hell. Like the King of Hell, he can't see the realm of black and white and impermanence. But the Bone Dragon, he could vaguely guess, was almost a holy level creature. The Bone Dragon is a saint, but the Abyss Demon is only a golden lord. The difference is clear at a glance. But just now the Abyss Demon proposed the term complete body. Perhaps, the complete body of the Abyss Demon is also a holy level. The Abyss Demon seemed to see Yuchen's doubts and explained, "Don't worry, we are monsters on the same level. Hell was set up by the King of Hell to exist like a mirror image. The stronger you adventurers are, the more we see. The closer we get to the perfect body. But our perfect body, which is the upper limit, is the holy level. This is the principle. It's the same as what I thought. In other words, if I go to hell to see the Bone Dragon now, am I only at the Golden Lord level?" Yuchen asked. "Yes, the Bone Dragon is hidden under the river Styx. If you are brave enough, go down and have a look." The Abyss Demon sneered, "The Bone Dragon is indeed unique. It can be immune to 90% of magic damage, and its physical defense is also terrifying. Its double attack is also terrifying. What I just said was wrong. Maybe the Bone Dragon can defeat me," the Abyss Demon said silently, looking unwilling and sad. Yuchen smiled and said, "Well, thank you for clarifying my doubts. I think I have made a choice, that is, Bone Dragon." Yuchen smiled calmly. Even though the Abyss Demon looked shocked, angry, and deceived, Yechen was still very calm. Nonsense, since the bone dragon is the strongest, of course he will choose the bone dragon first. As for why he is given priority, because the global field is so large, there may be other strong people who can become the messengers of hell before him, taking away the right to choose bone dragon first. When that time comes, Yechen can only retreat and take the next step. The Abyss Demon was shocked and angry, and suddenly laughed wildly. Ignorance. Poor mortal, can't you see my advantages? You have many advantages, but you are still not as good as the bone dragon. Yechen said sharply. The Abyss Demon suddenly became furious and shouted, I said before that I am wearing a top-notch hell suit in my complete body. This means that I can wear equipment. Among the hell monsters, I am the most special. What's the hell suit? It's just a gold suit. If you're strong enough, just give me 1 or 2 artifacts, by then, I'll give you all the bone dragons, hydras, and ghost elephant masters in seconds. Look, the Abyss Demon laughed, feeling smug. Hearing this, Yechen twitched the corner of his mouth, killing the bone dragon instantly. It's a shame this guy can say this. Nonsense, if I have a divine weapon, why would I need your help? Yechen sneered. Maybe. I just want to tell you that in terms of potential, I surpass the bone dragon, the Abyss Demon muttered. The potential for embarrassment. Yechen sighed. At the beginning of the sanctuary, the Abyss Demon was not as good as the bone dragon, and it was far inferior. The bone dragon can be imagined to be a huge monster. I am afraid that with just one move, it can kill hundreds or even thousands of people instantly. In the later stages, the Abyss Demon equipped with artifacts can indeed defeat the bone dragon. But when that time comes and the artifact is born, what will their holy level monsters count for?